Think we are live. Hello, Tom Lebecki here with the latest edition of the Armchair MBA. I'm your host, Tom Lebecki. I'm going to have a little espresso shot.
Oh my God, I forgot mine. So I got my coffee ready.
And no, I'm not drinking tonight. And we're going to have a very special edition. We're waiting for one more person to come in. We got 3 out of the 4 horsemen. We're going to do a quick round robin, have some fun. No bullshit, no games. Just going to have a little bit of fun and go through mob and mob-related topics, even some business topics as well. Hey, Tom, how are you? Carol, Antonio, and Carol again. So welcome. To be honest, the show is definitely better with alcohol and it's a live stream. That egg combat medic. It's funny because the old show and even on the other show, whenever I drank, I would get like nasty grams from people and they would be like, oh, you shouldn't drink. I'm going to unsubscribe. And I'm like, I thought drinking was half the fun. But anyway, we'll wait for Bay 8th, Joe in a moment. But first, let's give some introductions just in case you don't know these yahoos. Hey, Tommy Sticks, Jojo, so Lexi. So first, Brooklyn guy, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
I'm Brooklyn guy, Vinny Bracco. How are you, everybody?
And a host of his show. We've been on each other's shows. Up-and-coming YouTube guy, JSV Capital, Jason Venturelli, the finance guy, the money guy. Vinny is Vinny Cash App, but Jason is Jason Money. And Jason, want to say any few words before we start?
No, I'm just glad to be here. Yes, Jason from JSV Capital. And let's go, guys. Let's go with the questions.
It's funny because the other night, Bay 8th, who is late, was actually the first there. And okay, so we'll kind of go left to right, or at least left to right on my screen. We're going to talk about some topics. If you have any questions below, I'll add them. I have about 10 available. Hey, Bloody Face TV, how are you? Carol, how are you? Jen, and Botaga, all welcome. So my first time using StreamYard, so bear with me. Okay, so my first is, and I think Vinny can definitely shed some light, candidly, is the Colombo family bus, right? These guys had a few different administrative busts over the years. They've been calling for the end of the Colombos for many years, but is this the final nail in the coffin for the Colombos? Let me add Joe on. Hold on. Joe, I'm shocked you were late.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had a little bit of technical difficulties with my low main downstairs tonight. So,
okay, you get away with it because you're wearing a Willie Stargell hat. You're getting away with it for that reason.
Okay. Well, here's what I want to say. Talk about being late. I go up to your house at 6 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, man, I hope I didn't offend these guys. I'm like 3 minutes late. Yeah.
My daughter was 103 fever, so hopefully I'm going to pass on that one.
Oh, yeah,
right.
you get a pass. What's up, Vinny? What's up, Jay?
All right, so we're jumping in. Introductions are made. Bay 8th is the man, a.k.a. Joe. So we're doing a round robin. I'm going to ask some questions that I prepared. Then we'll jump into some viewers' questions and so forth. So first up, we'll go kind of like clockwise on this one. Brooklyn guy, Jay, and then Joe, and then I'll answer. So the Colombo family bus, right? This was probably the second or third in the last 20 years or so where the administration was super challenged and they went after the top 3 and put them away. So a lot of people are saying that the Colombo family is not strong enough to survive this latest administration hit. You're up first, Brooklyn guy. Give us your thought. Is this the end of the Colombos?
No.
Did we lose them?
You know what? These mob guys have 9 lives. I think it's going to be a different Colombo. I think you're going to have a lot of young guys made. Like I had told you guys earlier, I think you're going to have a lot of associates that were never made, and the reason why they were never made was because they weren't capable in the older guys' eyes. And now I think you have a lot of guys young that probably would have to learn on the job, and that's very dangerous. I don't think it's over, but I think it will be
Interesting. Jason, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so won't be over. Yeah, they took a hard hit this past one. What was it, 12 guys roundup? Was that 12 guys total?
It was 11
guys. 11 of their hierarchy.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not 11, nobody's 11, and even the boss, right? Their main guy, right? Right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's a hard hit. But what I think happens in this life, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of these young guys will step up And I think that, just by association with the other families, they get that support. You're going to have the guys on the street, the guys in the can are still going to be running things. You know that. So they're not going to, they're going to bend, they're not going to break. And they'll put everybody in position that needs to be in position. And I don't know, maybe, Vinny, you could help me out with this. When something like this happens, I mean, everybody's associated with other families and they have their support there. And so, I mean, they still work together, all the families, right? So, yeah, they have that support. They're going to continue to, not as powerful, obviously, because their main guys went away, but they're right back on it like nothing ever happened, I think.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I think. So basically, they wiped out the upper echelon, allegedly the upper echelon. But what you have to realize is the people that were busted, let's say in the last big one, which might have been like 8 or 10 years, let's just say, for throwing out a number, they'll be coming home soon.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to fill the ranks. And then you got to look at it this way. Who was the guy that was John's friend?
Joey Amato.
Exactly. Joey.
Well, that's why I think it's going to be a hurt, because Joey still has a few more years to earn off. And what is he going to come home to? I was thinking the same thing.
Right. And then you also got to look at it this way. Allegedly, if you're, let's say, a captain, right? How many guys do you have in your crew? Made guys, allegedly 5, 7, 10.
Yeah.
So when you take out 11 guys and 3 of them are, in captains.
Yeah.
They have underlings that are under them.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to step into that might not be someone that shouldn't, they probably shouldn't be in that position.
Yeah. Good
But
point.
whenever you're dealing with money, and believe me, there's money, somebody's going to fill that, vacancy.
Is that me?
How effective they're going to be, that's completely different.
So I agree with you. I'd like to give the managerial business end of it. And Andy Mushrusso is 87 years old. He was basically micromanaging his crew and involved with day-to-day operations. I don't think he trusts millennials. There was an article about it. And that's a very weak sign that the chairman and a high boss at 87 years old has to kind of stay involved, stay involved. And the truth of the matter is, I think it's a weak sign for the organization. And I don't think it's the end, but I do think it's closer to the beginning of the end. And if they were smart, they would maybe link up with a bigger family.
But I want to add one thing, and this could be possibly a wild card in the whole thing. Yeah. What about, people from Italy coming over? Like,
hold on. Yeah, I have. That's part of the other part. Yeah.
So, like if you look at some of the traditional families, it seems like guys are coming over. You had Antonio Nicasso on. And Dragada, and those guys come over, and they're virtually unknown to Americans.
Yeah.
Who knows who's in those rankings? Who's in that family right now?
If I could just, I'm sorry, Joe. If I could just, I kind of disagree here. Like, La Cosa Nostra here in the States. You guys educate me. They don't care about the zips over there. They don't care about some guy over there coming over here running the streets. I remember, again, another guy, we won't give him promotion on the show here, but watch another guy's podcast. He's saying, even if you're made over there, you come over here, you're not made over here. We'll give you respect. We'll show you, you respect when you come over here. You're a friend of a friend, but you're not a made guy. You can't do stuff over here unless we give you permission to do stuff over here, unless you're ordered to do something. I don't know. I don't think they're going to let somebody come over from the other side and start running things.
You're 100% right about that. But what I would say is, let's say like the Calabrians, they're very, very powerful.
Yeah.
If they decide that they want to send their people there, do you think that the street guys, the Americans, what could they possibly do when you're dealing with an organization that's way more powerful and has the ability to bring in way more money? You could either
if you're talking
Meet
about
with them or join them.
I mean, if you're talking about the drug aspect of it, okay, okay, maybe that could connections and this and that, okay, but every day streets, who's gonna tell the guy? Who's gonna tell him? Oh, we got to collect here. The bookmaking operation makes this. The loan sharking operation makes this. Oh, we got trucks over here. We're jacking.
Yeah, but I think you're missing the point, Jay. Is the Italians on the other side versus here got into bigger stuff, right? So when a Calabrian and Draga boss comes over and sets up a cell, or the Cosa Nostra guys come over and hook up with the Gambinos or the Bonanos, they're not worried about the local 180, local IBEW. Don't get me wrong; there's still money in it, and it's important. They're focusing on a much bigger business. I don't want to go too far ahead on that.
Right. Okay.
That's one of the other 10. But good discussion so far. Okay, I'm not gonna get into politics, and I'm waiting for Vinny on this one. Come on, man, Vinny, where are you? All right, Columbus Day. Should it stay or go, Jay?
Oh man, again, it goes back to that famous episode of Sopranos titled Columbus Day, right?
Yeah.
Where Silvio and Artie Bucco went out into the streets with bats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Listen, having Columbus Day as an Italian Heritage Day, I say yes, keep it. Great, okay. Having Columbus Day, as a national holiday, maybe not so much anymore. Knowing that
not lefty. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying having holidays for nationalities and religions, like, there's a lot of Jewish holidays that came up in October and September that we didn't nationally recognize, right? Yeah. But it was still known and there was still celebration, right? I think we could still have the holiday.
That's interesting.
But,
What do you think, Bay?
I think it should stay. I mean, because if, let's say we decided to get rid of Columbus Day for whatever reason, he came over here, he killed Native Americans, whatever the reasoning is, well, then guess what? George Washington is on a $1 bill, right? Did he have slaves? I mean, so the thing is, who was here when we came out, so, I mean, you can't really just start picking and choosing. It's like either we get rid of all of them or none of them, basically. I mean,
it's a slippery slope. There you go. Before we get to a Brooklyn guy, I just saw a funny one of TikTok or Instagram. A guy's in the car, and there's a guy outside the car. The cop goes, "That's my car. That's my car." And the guy goes, "No, it's not. I discovered it." I thought that was good. Brooklyn guy, where do you stand? Columbus Day stays or goes?
I think it has to stay. It was symbolic. American heritage and the beginning of Western civilization. I don't know how you can. The thing is that they're trying to destroy civilization in America as we know it. But I think it has to stay because if you knock that out, there are so many other things that should go off the board. So I think you have to keep it.
I'm going to tell you this, and again, I'm not getting too political, but I'm going to guarantee the three of you, and I don't want to get ganged up here, but if they decided to do a Malcolm X Day, the three of you would be in the streets going, "No, hell no, how dare you? We're not necessarily."
No.
A lot of people would because
one thing I do want to add is, Vinny, what's up, bro? Listen, so Columbus Day. Staying or going? What's the line on that right now? Is it minus 220 to get rid of it?
I'll give you the line. I'll give you a perfect line. I make it 8-1 now, and if the Republicans win in 24, 1,000 to 1.
Okay.
So it'll stay.
Let me write that down. I'm
had to get political
on that.
No, I think it'll stay.
I think so too.
It'll stay. They still got the parades going. And
yeah.
Wow, I'm my first time using StreamYard, and the conversations are much different than they are here. Hey, Joey, thank you. So Joey's a mod. There was some show and hides. Again, it's on YouTube. I don't know. So, what's his name? Joe Karate. It's your show, brother. In terms of modding, if that's called, I think we should keep it for many reasons as an Italian American holiday. Jason does. I will give a little bit of a point in terms of there's other holidays that there are other religions and other people have that's not nationally recognized, but I do think this one should stay. And then I also agree with you two guys below that becomes a slippery slope. Next up, and we're going to start with Brooklyn Guy and go counterclockwise. Larry Mazza, made or a high-level associate when he was in the life?
I think he was made by someone who wasn't given permission to make him. I think that they were trying to gain people this way. If they needed to sit down, I think they wanted to know whose side who was on. And I think that, yeah, I believe someone would get made in the bathroom during the war. I do. Now, the question is, did he? But listen, you're not going to have the commission that would normally have to be the hierarchy that would have to be there, and then you got a spot where they could all get hit in one spot. You'd have 5 guys sit.
You're breaking up a little bit, Vin. You're breaking up. All right, let's go to Joe. Joe, what do you think?
So,
well, my take on it is this. Initially, I was a little bit skeptical about it. You know, I mean, I'm not a made guy or involved, so no one came to me and said, hey, yes or no. But then talking to you guys and thinking about it, my thought is, I think he definitely did enough to get in. Like, you know, if you have to make your bones, I think he qualified, you know, by what he did. And if he says he is, I'm going to say, yeah, I think he is too, because, you know, I don't want to call him a liar, you know, I mean, so, I mean, is it a big accomplishment? Back then it was. Now it was a lot easier, but I would go with yes. Really, I would go with yes.
Jason?
Sorry, it was on mute. So, yeah, I think it was made. I mean, you can tell, you know, a guy who's BSing. Larry does not look like a BSer. He told the story. They were in a hotel, you know, whatever you call it, in that hotel over there where they have conferences. Yeah. They sat down. They made him. It was during the war. Just of what he was doing alone, his lifestyle with Greg Scarpa, you know, the murders he was doing. First of all, he was going to be made. You know, shit didn't go south. He was going to be made no matter what. But I think they said, you know what, we're in war. Let's propose these guys. They did it. It got done. And Larry, all the interviews I see with Larry, it's the same story. Nothing's exaggerated. It doesn't sound exaggerated. And yeah, so I'm going with made.
Yeah. One other thing is, you know, during that time when, like, there's a war on two sides, right? Like, how would you get the full approval of everyone? You know what I mean? Because the name, let's say it gets passed around, okay? That, you know, whatever. But if, you know, Carmine's in jail and he's the boss and Vic is the guy on the street and he's on the opposite side, I don't think you could go to Vic if you're trying to kill him and say, hey, we want to put this guy up. So, you know, I think that's another area that's a gray area. But I definitely think he did enough to get in, yeah, and was worthy of it.
I think he was, as for two reasons, and they're not any strong, conclusive reasons. Number one, I just believe that the way he speaks and his knowledge of everything that went on, as far as I know, in terms of like mob protocol and standing on ceremony, as John used to say, I don't see him being at certain meetings. If he wasn't a made guy, they would make him get up. They would make him leave, especially back then. So I think they made him tactically for that reason. Number two, I think that he was pretty transparent. He said, listen, he goes, if no matter who won, I probably would have had to get remade. I would probably have to go through the ceremony, but I got my button. So I vote for yes on that. Yeah. Hopefully Vinny will come back soon because I want his input on some of these. Next up, big Spanish bust in Italy, where they arrested 106 people. And the focus on it was cyber crimes, phishing, credit cards, cryptocurrency, and the like. It kind of shows that the Italian, the Cosa Nostra, the Camorra, the 'Ndrangheta, really kind of advancing and sticking up with the times. and being really creative in their business in terms of scams. We don't hear that much from the Cosa Nostra in the U.S. in terms of the cyber scams and the like. You think the U.S. mob can adapt rather, or you think they kind of missed the boat on kind of like the digital age? Joe, I'll have you go first.
Definitely. The one thing about organized crime that we know, it's you're in it to make money. And any way you could make money, you're going to try to make money. And it could be as simple as, just because you're a mob figure, you might not be able to figure these schemes out on your own.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's people that have that knowledge that look for a partner because, they need some muscle behind them or, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I think definitely that they're going to get involved. And I think they would be just like, we were talking about it the other day with the pump and dump schemes.
Yeah.
How did they get into the stock market, So I think wherever there's money to be made, they're going to get in.
Good point. So the question was, Vinny, can you hear us okay?
Yeah. Have you guys been freezing at all, or is it just me?
Just you, buddy.
Okay. I went on my iPad. That's why it's better.
He's too busy collecting the cash apps.
Yeah.
I've been checking the phone for them.
So we were saying there was a big bust in Spain, a lot of Italian OC, I think across all families, or three of the type of OC were caught in like crypto and web type stuff, which is a little bit more advanced, what the Russians have been doing for years. Do you think the American Cosa Nostra will be involved in kind of these type of white collar cyber crimes, cryptocurrency, or and the like, or do you think they missed the boat? Talking about American Cosa Nostra.
I think they'll try. I don't know how bright the leadership is and the people that are I think it's in flux right now, these families. I don't know if anyone's capable of doing a long-term thing where you can make any kind of money in that, because they're out on the lookout for that stuff now. And are these guys bright enough? It sounds stupid, but are they bright enough to pull it off now? These guys are young. I don't know. But I do believe, you watch the Soprano episode, that's how they get in there. The boiler room, that's how they get in there.
Yeah.
Because I saw it when I worked. Now, a lot tougher now to push pump and dump and all that. But listen, they managed to get their hands in everything. So if you know a couple of stockbrokers from the neighborhood, they grew up with you, and they want to make some quick money, you might be able to. I just don't think it'll be as easy as it once was. But I'll say, yeah, they'll try. I don't know how they'll succeed.
Which kind of brings me to, as most of you know, I had Antonio Nicasso on. Hopefully you guys check him out. He's an Draga Calabria mob expert. The landscape in Canada has been dramatically different than the U.S. Bodies dropping almost daily. Even Vito Rizzuto, his father, his son, his brother-in-law, a whole bunch of people. So the Rizzutos took a shellacking, and it was believed it was the Calabrians. They kind of came over to, I believe, the Hamilton side, took over the local Calabrian families to the point that the Calabrian kind of cell is so big that they only report to the homeland on bigger things. They're that strong. And it's believed that between the Calabrians and Rizzutos that are supposedly beefing back up, that they are actually much stronger than the 5 families in the U.S. Ergo, when Sal Montagna there got popped, there was no retribution, and they killed the boss. Granted, it might have been somebody deported, but it was still a boss. So I'm going to start off with Joe. Do you think the Calabrians are now, do you think the Canadians, the Italian Canadians, are now stronger than the 5 families in New York?
Honestly, I'd probably say no. Okay. Not right now, because I think they took out way too many people.
Okay.
And the thing is, with Canada, there's all the other types of ethnic groups. There's the bikers. There's, stronger than all 5 families, or just maybe they might be stronger
than New York. Not that they're gonna ever battle head on, but in terms of influence, in terms of money, in terms of status, etc.
Man, I got to look at the Gambinos and the Genovese family. I mean, those, the other 3, they might be down and out, but I mean, you look at the Gambinos, seems like they have guys in their, administration, and you look at the Genovese family, we don't even know who's in charge there. So, I would say no.
Vinny?
No, I don't think so. And you said something very interesting, Joe. Not knowing who's in charge of the Genovese family. That's why they're so strong.
Yep.
Jason, want to shed any further light?
I would say yes, on the account of hearing Genovese guys and guys who are outside the New York area, right? Not having to pay dues or even answer to the New York family that they were associated with, or even that they were made with.
Yeah.
So even if their made guys aren't contributing and answering to the bosses back in New York, what stretch do they even have in Canada?
Yeah, good point. Good point.
So,
and one other thing I wanted to add, though, is like what I heard from Mr. Nicasso was it seems like there's smaller cells, like there's smaller groups. Now in Canada, are they all together, or is it a crew here, a crew there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In New York, it seems like the Genovese family is one family.
Yeah.
They're together. In Canada, it just seems like there's much smaller groups. Do they have 150 made guys in the Sicilian faction up in Montreal? I mean,
probably not. Yeah.
So,
I wanted to add something too. Do you think there's any recruitment going on between Buffalo, which is pretty strong, in Canada?
Well, there was this is interesting. Tadaro, who's considered the boss or underboss, who owns that big pizzeria, was supposedly caught on tape, and he made Violi, which is the son of the Violi from Canada, the underboss. So where it gets interesting is there's a belief that Hamilton took over Buffalo, but on the tape, Tadaro said he needed the approval of the commission.
Oh.
So it's like conflicting. That's why it's a hot topic, because it's kind of conflicting stories, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, actually.
So, which brings me to my next this is kind of 5A, if you will. And some families are already doing this, like the Gambinos. Joe brought up earlier. Does it make sense for people with a Sicilian branch or has connections to Calabria and Napoli to start recruiting guys over there instead of associates over here? Vinny, I'll have you go first.
Well, repeat the question.
So the theory is kind of like the Sicilians, and we talked about this earlier because you jumped off. If you import from Italy, you'll probably get more traditional guys, probably into bigger things. You'll lose some of the smaller things like construction, union, garbage.
Right.
You might play in a bigger plane, right? And a perfect example is the Sicilian faction of the Gambinos. Do you see maybe 4 out of the 5 families recruiting from the other side to refill the ranks?
I do. Yeah, because I think they know those guys know what Omerta is. And I think they've lost a lot of faith in American guys. And I think that they feel those guys play by the rules. They stay in their lanes for the most part. And I think that you won't have to train them. You get here, young guys, you have to really show them the way. Those guys know the way already. So you'll be stronger. Just get guys in that know the ball game already. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks, Joe.
Marky Mark, what's up, baby? How are you?
Mark's the man. Mark's the man. Jason, what do you think?
Recruiting from the other side, that's honestly, I don't know that's news to me. I know they've done it, brought guys over to do certain jobs. I guess that's a thing. So this is a question that I don't have an opinion on. We'll go with Vinny on this. If they recruit, they recruit. I didn't know that they make a phone call and they say, hey, send so-and-so over here, and they get on a plane, they get over here, and now they got to stay here. Do we got American guys? I mean, American guys ain't doing that, are they?
Well, I have a 2-part question for Vinny and Joe, right? Jason's the baby of the bunch. What are you, 38, right, Jason?
Yeah.
He's a baby of the bunch.
And he's the best looking, too.
Exactly. Well, aside from video, of course. But
right.
So to Vinny and to Joe, whoever wants to answer first, if you're not made by 38 nowadays, Are you never getting made, or is that kind of when they start looking at you?
Who goes first? Me?
Yeah, Brooklyn, you go first.
It depends what family you're in, and it depends. I think the Genovese family, if you're made by 38, you're a star, and you put a lot of money in someone's pocket to get made. I think Colombo family, they've been Bonanno families, but you got a lot of 32-year-olds running around that are made that have their buttons. I think it's different in every family. The Genovese, I think it's been for years the hardest family to get made in, and that's why they know if you're capable, and that's why they don't have the problems the other families have.
Yeah.
But I think generally 38 is about the age that I think your name will be passed around. You're in 15 years probably, because not going to at 19 they're not taking you seriously. Early adulthood, and then 15 years if you prove you're okay, then I think that's a good number.
Now, Joe, I want to kind of add to the question. We all know that the Sicilians and the Gambinos, they have that relationship. The Bonannos is a great heritage, but I don't know as far. And then also the Genovese were kind of doing something within Dragada, but the Genovese, Colombo, and who's the third? Who am I missing? Genovese, Colombo, Lucchese. Do you see them having a strong side with the other side, or are all three of those families more Americanized as far as you know?
Well, honestly, I think that they have people from the other side involved. Yeah. And once you get a couple in the door and those spots start filling up where they need people, you're going to see more and more of it. Yep.
Good point.
I think every family has people from over there, and it's just going to grow as the ranks get more, diminished as time goes on.
Good point. This will be we're gonna have Brooklyn guy go last. Well, Joe go first.
Hey Tom,
yeah.
I just want to touch on something. You forgot me on that round. 3 questions back. It was the digital. It was the digital age.
Yeah.
These guys for years have already been doing the credit card strips. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They get a restaurant. They get somebody to change it. The card swiper. They do it at gas stations. They get a guy at a restaurant. They've been doing that already. And the next thing is that they're going to do is the Bitcoin. First of all, they're already doing Bitcoin. So all the drug deals, right? All the laundering of money. Come on, where do you think that's going? Right? The U.S. government is going to be cracking down, and you have to, on your taxes, state what cryptocurrency you have. You think these other countries are doing it? No. So when these organized crime figures get the swing of it, which I'm sure they are, they're going to be doing the cryptocurrency and going that direction.
Tom,
so
just to get back to you with that recruiting.
Yeah.
In Canada, if you have a felony, you're not going to be able to get in here. They have something called forgiveness, where you have to apply. You have to be certain felonies, drugs, DWI. You're not getting back into Canada or coming here. Probably easier to get in here. Yes. So with a felony, very hard for them to go back and forth. So they would have to come here illegally if they have felonies from there, because they're not going to get in here. So you're not going to be able to start your life here unless you're here illegally.
Interesting. So, Joe, next question. Started off. And Jason, thank you for that. Hey, Carlos, I made you a wrench. Not that Joe Karate's doing a great job, but just in case there's a lot of nonsense, because I don't know, it's weird. I see the comments here, but I was peeking at the regular. There's a lot of show and hide, and I don't know. These guys are good guys. They'll take care of this. All right. Strongest Brooklyn mob boss in the 80s and 90s. Joe, what do you think?
Strongest Brooklyn specifically. 80s and 90s. I'm gonna go with Anthony Casso, gas pipe.
Nice. Jason?
Just because he's from exactly where my area is, and he was pretty well feared and respected and very wealthy. And I just think the guys, as time goes on and you find out, who was with him or under him, some serious guys.
Jason? You're on silent, my friend.
There.
All right, Benny. Jason, you good?
I'm good now. Thing is delayed. I'm going to go. Hey, after hearing Castro stories, man, I mean, forget about it. If he wasn't, I don't know who was.
All right. Brooklyn guy. This is probably your area reference as well.
It has to be Brooklyn.
Yeah.
The guy from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn only.
Well, if you were to put the Chico in that mix early on, but the Chico get at 86, he would have been probably Casso.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would go with DeChico also, but he got killed early,
right.
and then obviously
He got killed outside his house, right? Got gunned down.
No,
he was in
it's
the
a
car
car
bomb.
The course from Tommaso's.
Oh, there's a car bomb. Who was the one that got killed outside his house?
Borriello.
Yep, Bobby Borriello.
Yes, Bobby Borriello. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, got him confused. Yeah.
No.
And Sammy too. He's another one. Sammy Gravano, definitely up there.
Yeah. Oh,
But
hey.
I think Gas Pipe was the one really pulling the strings in that family, and
Yeah.
they were rich. They had a lot of tough guys, and everybody says Gambino and Genovese the biggest, which is true. But the Lucchese's in my area, very, very big, powerful, and feared.
I'm going to say Anthony Spiro. And
No. Yeah.
hey, really quick. So I guess there's some spat going on. You guys, I have no clue what's going on.
What's going on?
I made Carlos a wrench. I know Carlos from a lot of the chats. I think somebody's upset with it. Listen, I trust Carlos. I've seen him around a little bit. So, I don't think he'll screw us. So just trust me. If you watch the channel, just trust me. And then Joe Karate's been great as well. All right. Next, speaking of Spiro, which I gave, Bath Avenue boys versus the New Springfield boys. Joe, you go first. Who do you take?
It's tough because, I'm originally from Brooklyn, and now I live in Staten Island. I would say the Brooklyn guys.
Wow. Jason, I don't know if you know. Did you know that the Bath Ave, obviously, you heard of this New Springfield boys? That was like Pat Shell and those guys?
Lee DeVanzo.
Yeah, Lee DeVanzo.
Who's a really good guy, man.
Yeah.
I think he's locked up now, but
Is that
really
the guy? Is that the Mob Wives connection?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he really was connected.
Yeah, with the bananas.
He was a main guy.
though.
Not unless he did. He was an associate, unless he got a stripe. But
I don't think so.
Yeah. So, all right. I'll ask the Brooklyn guy in this one. Are you geared towards your Brooklyn Bath Ave guys, or you think the Staten Island guys were strong?
No, I'm fair. I think when Galena died, I think that whole crew changed, obviously, because he was the Mickey Mantle of that team, and I think everyone looked toward him. But no, Calandra was the real deal. I know someone who knew him, real deal. I think I can only go by what I saw. Now I'm older than them, but I knew people that were around at that time. I didn't know the other guys. I would say, listen, if I had to go to war, I would take the Bath Avenue guys. Partially because I don't know what the other guys were about, but I knew what these guys were about. And these guys, on a dime, would have each other's backs or a friend's back. If I was your friend and I said that happened to you, they'd be at the guy's house to protect you.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but Bath Avenue, yeah. That's
I'm gonna get crap for this. I'm gonna go.
Wait, one other thing I want to add too.
Yeah.
The New Springville guys, very, very tough. Good with their hands, you know what I mean? But I think the Brooklyn guys, they were more with the pistol work, you know what I mean? Whereas I don't know if the New Springville guys had that kind of reputation of, like Jimmy was saying, that when they got the kid Vinny Bickelman for Spiro, they killed him on the corner of where the 62nd precinct is.
Yeah.
Another thing about the Bath Avenue guys, their hangout, it was like right next to a police precinct on Bath Avenue. Like very, very close.
Yeah,
Takes balls to do that.
I'm gonna be the lone wolf, I think, on this one, but I'm gonna go with the Springfield boys. I'll tell you why. I think acutely head to head, Bath Ave wins all day long, right? But if you look, they were pretty deep, right? They were like 9 deep. Only one migrated onto their button. Now, in the Springfield guys, I don't know if any of them got their button, but they're still out. Lee essentially might be doing a bid, but it's short. Chris Pacello is a club owner. Granted, he took a different path to get there, and he did roll. But I just think they were a little smarter, and sometimes the pen is muddier than the sword. Next up, Sammy DeVol versus Michael Francis in the upcoming sit-down. Jay, who do you take?
Whose crew would I want to be on, or who do I take in the sit-down?
They're going to do a sit-down, and I guess they're going to judge a winner more than likely. If not, we'll judge it for them. If they don't, just kidding. Who do you take? Who do you think will win with their sit-down oratory skills?
Well, in a debate, Michael Francis wins the debate. He's more calm, cool, collective, a little more educated, can bring that out, in a debate. So he'll win that. If you're asking me on the street, I think Sammy would have ran circles around.
Joe?
Sammy the Bull, 100%.
Love it.
And
wins a debate? Wins a debate?
Oh yeah.
The guy. Listen, you can't win a debate if you curse at the other guy. You're done.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying,
you get up and you yell at somebody.
When I'm saying, over. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Okay, when Sammy the Bull was on the streets, right, and John Gotti was on the streets. John Gotti's problem was he was picked up on wiretaps constantly, right? And in those wiretaps, he says, if there's a sit down, I send Sammy the Bull. I wish I had 10 of them, because he always wins. I think you underestimate Sammy's intelligence. We're not talking about, a Microsoft or a Fortune 500 company. We're talking about street shit. And Sammy,
we're talking about a sit down on entertainment value.
A sit down regarding to street stuff, right? We're not talking about which stock to buy. Was Michael Francis a better businessman? Possibly, but a sit down, my money's going to go with Sammy.
What do you think, Vinny?
It's Ali Foreman. If he can get him rattled, Sammy destroys him. If he stays calm the whole sit down, Franchise, and you have people in the Sammy camp, but I think Sammy will try to rattle him and get him all flustered. And if anybody's going to get flustered, people won't agree with this because you'll think Sammy will lose his temper, but it will be Franchise.
Okay, wait a minute. I think I misunderstood. I was saying when they were on the streets.
No. Oh, you're talking Sammy on the streets?
Sammy would definitely win the sit down.
No, he's talking about on this.
Right. On this one, I'm going to go with Francis for one reason. Sammy has a lot of baggage, and he has a lot of, questionable things that people question. And I think Francis, he thinks he didn't cooperate, and his record is a little more, I would say, clean. You could really get to Sammy with a lot of the stuff that he's been accused of, and so it'd be tough for him to win it now.
Joe, how about, though, the experience level of Sammy in sit-downs opposed to Franchise? How many times did Franchise sit down for anybody?
Okay. That's what I'm saying. That's why he said Sammy on the streets, Sammy wins that. But,
Absolutely.
Now, in Ryan Lucido, that's a great point. What are they having to sit down over?
Right.
Like, what are they debating?
You're right. Right.
They talking politics, or they talking about who killed more guys, or so.
That's
but it'd be interesting.
It will be.
Beautiful. All right. Godfather 1 or 2, Jason. Yeah, that's easy. Joe.
Dewey.
Perfect. BG.
Well, he was in the first Godfather, Santino, so I think he's.
Well, I would say 2, and the only reason is because the first one was Puzo's story. The second one was Coppola's story. And I think they wanted to show you in 2 less gangster and more family. It was more a family. If you think about it, this wasn't Goodfellas. You didn't see any crime.
You're right.
It was really talking about the family. So I would go with 2.
I'm gonna go with 2, but I'm gonna get shit for this one. All right. I like Godfather 3. And
Me
this-
too.
and
Look,
this-
let me
Go ahead,
just
Joe.
add
Go
one
ahead,
thing
why
real
was
quick.
good.
Quick question,
Go ahead.
all right?
Yeah.
Who's a better actor, Pacino or De Niro?
Ooh.
Because I
Pacino.
just had this debate recently, like about a week ago with my wife.
I'm gonna go with Pacino.
I
I
think
like Pacino.
I
I
think
mean, I like De Niro, but if I had to pick, I mean, I got a list of movies of nonstop hits with
Right.
Pacino.
I think De Niro was a little more versatile, but
I think it's the
a little
complete
more-
opposite.
Oh no, I don't think Pacino would be as funny as Analyze This and stuff like that. But I think tour de force performances, I don't think De Niro has ever had the work that look at the early 70s. Pacino was in Panic at Needle Park 1 and 2,
Dog's Day
He was it-
Afternoon.
Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. Look at that in the course of 6 years.
He played Joe Paterno.
Yeah,
He played Bernie Madoff.
right. And what was the other one he played? Any given
He
Sunday?
played that wackadoo doctor. Remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Come on, he was putting people to sleep. What's it?
Kevorkian.
Vorky.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday. Any given Sunday.
Sunday.
That's a great movie. Yeah, he's just amazing. And I will tell you this: if you like The Godfather 3, Tom, I had spoken to a producer on the set of Boulevard. Originally their idea for that was Tom Hagen to go against Michael Corleone for the family.
Oh wow.
That was their original thought, that they were putting it around that there was going to be a struggle between those two.
Joey Zaza.
Yeah. And I still can't believe that they didn't sign him, Robert Duvall, for The Godfather.
They should have given him whatever money he wanted. I think it was a money dispute. So
Yeah.
Joe, just defend Godfather 3 with me. You go first.
Me?
Yeah, The Godfather 3. You said
Okay.
it's pretty good. Defend it with me, please.
Well, here's what I liked about it. I actually liked the girl. What was her name?
That's
Ooh,
a-
yeah.
If you said Sophia Coppola was
Yeah.
good, Coppola was good, we have to end this now.
Which one, Fonda or Coppola?
No, Coppola.
Good. She was hot.
The daughter?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I
You thought
think
the
she
daughter was
cute.
good?
I
She was
think
pretty.
I think she was cute.
I don't
Cute.
care about that.
Well, that's my reasoning for liking it. I don't have many reasons, but that's one of them.
You can't like a movie because there's a hot
Because
girl in it.
the thing is this: what I didn't like about it is the hit that they had when they were in Atlantic City.
Well, that was a little too much, yeah. That was a little
You know.
too much.
And then Andy Garcia.
Yeah.
All right, let me defend and then we'll debate. That's why this show is going to be interesting. So the reason why I liked it is you had the nexus. You had the Sicilian Mafia was Don Lucchese. They were still bopping around. They were tied up with the church, right? You had the church money. If you guys ever know the story of Miguel Sindona, we should do a show on it. He was one of the God's bankers, where the money for the P2 Masons, the Catholic Church, the Mafia were all rolled into one through a banking scandal. So they kind of didn't go deep enough on that. That was Immobiliare essentially.
Right.
And they were getting into the it's almost like Michael Corleone gets out of the street stuff, right? And he finally wants to become legitimate. Then he realizes that the higher you go, the more crooked it is.
Yes.
And then he was at a different nexus of what international organized crime is about. So I'll have you guys tear my head off, but what are your thoughts? Vinny, you go first.
What, defending the movie?
Do you agree with me, or are you still think I'm full of shit?
No. I never think you're full of shit. You've written books. I haven't. And one fun fact I have to throw in because you brought it up. In The Godfather 2, when they're christening Carlo and Talia Shire's baby, that's Coppola. That's when she was a baby.
Wait, say that again?
In Godfather 2, when you see
Yeah.
the baby, the christening,
Oh, shit.
that's Coppola.
They should have kept her there.
Yeah, right. No, I think you're right. I think it was very interesting with the Borgias and all that, right? As he says, No, listen, I think the premise was great, but the problem is, you want Al Pacino to be Al Pacino in that movie, and no, they looked at it as weakness. And there were a couple of cheesy lines in that movie. I'll tell you one. Why didn't you go to the police? He tells Andy Garcia, what gangster? This man was the boss of bosses for years. Why didn't you go to the police? You don't go to the police. That would have never happened in real life. Yeah. And that the hit, like you said, that was ridiculous. But no, I agree with you. I think it on its merit. If that wasn't, that reminds me of Many Saints of Newark. If that was a movie within itself, without the other two movies, it would have been good. But because you're a victim of your own success, you're going against The Godfather 1 and 2, how are you going to win? But I agree with you. I think it was a much better movie than people gave it credit for.
Good point. Should there be a Godfather 4?
I think you'd have the same thing as Many Saints of Newark. You're looking for the characters. Now, listen, if Andy Garcia was Andy Garcia, he's only about, 65 now, Andy Garcia? No, if this was, 20 years past, maybe, I think it could be interesting because you have a lot of good actors now. And Big Pussy you'd have all those same guys in this movie too. But no, I think there's a lot's gone on in the world in the last 20 years. I think you could probably come up with a really good treatment for that.
But it'd have to be completely different. Like it wouldn't have followed. It really couldn't have been connected to the first three, other than, Andy Garcia's.
Right, absolutely right.
Because what characters in 3 could you see them moving forward with from the old, So
right. That's true. Very true. Good point.
So on the formal part of the questions, final question is, we're only maybe 7-8 years away from the 100-year anniversary of the formation of the American Cosa Nostra, when Meyer Lansky, Lucky Luciano, and the mob forefathers put together a perfect union of a Cosa Nostra here in the U.S. and 26 cities. Now, I think it's going to make it 100 years. What does the LCN in the U.S. have to do to survive another 100 years? Jason, go first.
Get into that digital age. Get into it. Do that Bitcoin thing where you're, hiding the money, you're doing, the digital theft and, what all these other hackers are doing out there, holding hostage water companies, electric companies, all these companies are getting held hostage by these Russian mobsters. Okay. In order to survive, you got to do that. I think the gambling, the loan shark will always be there. But other than that, there's bigger money out there for them, and it's on the digital side of that.
Joe?
I agree with Jason for the first time tonight. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, as long as there's money to be made, I think eventually people, they adapt to the times. It's like someone asked me a question, do you think that brick and mortar businesses will still be, a viable business in the future? And my answer was, honestly, yes, but these younger kids, they do everything online. Like even my wife to a certain degree, everything is ordering online, you're not going out as much. And everybody is, hooked to their phone and they're paying your bills through your phone and, So I think as time goes on, people like us that were used to a different way of doing things will be gone and the new generation will be in. So it's going to be difficult, but I think it'll still be around.
I knew a Romanian crew. Well, they were Romanian. I don't know what kind of crew they were, but their thing was the guy was able to change. And I guess this was the machines a while back, but he was able to change the card reader.
Yeah,
okay. Not the card swiper. I mean the ATM. The ATM.
Yeah, they would put this little device in that.
Right.
And you would go in and it would mirror your.
Right,
card.
and then the guy would come back around a day later and take that thing out, and then
that's why they went to chips.
Yeah.
Okay,
They were doing that in gas stations too.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, what I'm talking about is the strips for the credit cards they did, but also again the actual ATM
The mechanism, yeah.
Yeah, the mechanism. Yep, the mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah, they were able to mirror the cards, and once they had that,
Mhm.
they would have the cards to spend. I think the chips nixed that. Like 99% sure, but again, we can always follow up. So Vinny, what do they got to do to survive the next 100 years?
Recruit. I think in 100 years you won't have any tough guys anymore, because you'll be more tough mentally than with your hands. Because look, if you would have looked in the 50s and said they're going to get into the stock world, right? You would have said, "What are you, crazy?"
Yeah.
So they always do survive.
Yeah.
But you're going to need some smart people at the top, and I think it's like a rookie baseball team. Now with all the administrations changing, I think you're really going to have to wait until people settle in. So I think it's going to be shaky, but they always land on their feet, right? Right,
Mhm.
Jay? They always end up hearing the
And I
Mafia's
think-
dead for years, and it's always here.
Sorry about that, Vin,
No,
but
that's
I
okay.
think instead of whacking Will Murder murder will still go on.
Right.
But I think they'll become so good at the digital theft that I ain't gonna kill you. That
Right.
$100,000 that's in your account, I'm
Exactly.
taking from you.
Mhm.
Right.
When you're sleeping at night, I'm taking it. I'm screwing up your bank accounts. I'm screwing up your investments. See you later. You're worth nothing. You ain't got nothing. Now you're living on the street.
Right.
It's more torture alive, and I'm going to do it. I'll murder you digitally.
Ruin your credit score. Right.
Ruin your credit
everything.
score. Just completely screw you up.
And you don't need to be a tough guy to do that. You just need to know how to.
And
use
what?
a
And that's
computer, I
white
guess.
collar. You ain't going to get 100 years. What are you going to get? 5 years in a federal penitentiary?
Yeah, you're right. That's a great point.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Now, one of the things that I'm going to ask all three, but a little geared towards Brooklyn Guy and Joe, without naming names, we're never going to name names if anybody's active or in the street or even in jail that's alive for a short time. It's a good way for life. I want to know two things. One, guys around your age, and then guys that were a little older. So I'd like to know guys at your age. Are most of the guys at your age that got into life, got their stripe, are they out and about or are they in jail? I want to see how you guys kind of compare to your peers and without naming names, maybe think of 3 or 4 guys in your head that you grew up with and how did they fare? Joe, why don't you go first?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say the guys that I grew up around are out. But they've been, if they're out, they just got out.
Got it.
Like one of my good friends, like really know him since 1988.
Yeah.
Since I was 12. He did 11 years. And he came home 2 years ago. He lives out west in Vegas now. But and truthfully, what he got 11 years for, let me tell you, if he would have killed someone, he would have got less time. I mean, seriously, it's just amazing how the laws are geared towards certain things. But I would say they're out. But it's a revolving door. You're in, you're out. I mean, So I would say a lot of them are out.
Vinny?
Out.
That's the thing. I don't talk about the old show much, but when John and I spoke, we would chat offline and online, and I was amazed. And what happened was I wanted to do some research, so I wasn't as well versed. I know a little bit about the Lucchese's in Jersey, a little bit, but I wanted to do a little research on Lucchese's in New York. And I know it's Wikipedia, but it kind of gives you who's in and who's out. 90% of these guys were out. There's a lot of guys out. And I also heard a report that the Bananas went a little made crazy and are up to 200 guys. So there might be 1,000 guys with their button in and around this tri-state area that are still bopping around. I know it's different, and maybe their earning potential is less, but there's still a lot of guys around.
Yep.
Tom, you wouldn't believe how many guys that you've never heard of are real serious guys.
I agree.
Real serious guys.
I agree. That's why I laugh about the whole Sicilian thing and that kind of stuff. Because my first wedding, there was an older Italian gentleman who was in the life, and he was a frail old guy, but everybody went up to him. I was my wedding, and they're going up to him. So I just thought that was interesting.
One thing I want to add is this Columbo bust of, like, you know, with Mush Russo and everything. I'd really like to see how they tripped him up, because, like, if they have him dead to rights, what they're saying, how did they get close enough to him? 87 years old. I mean, was he betrayed by a family member, like a actual family member? Because he's been in and out of jail. You'd think he'd have enough smarts to say, you know what, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm not, you know.
Joe, for years, the Columbos have been guilty of talking on the phone. For years. That's been their downfall. You look at every big bust.
And that was another thing, the Vinny Unions guy or whatever, threatening the guy.
Yeah.
But Tom, we spoke about this the other day. How did the guy, what was it?
Vito Guzzo.
How did he shoot him?
Yep.
And he's alive. He actually got straightened out, I heard, too. So how would he be able to navigate through that? I mean, they killed his dad, but
yeah.
Touching a maid guy is a no-no, I guess. That's why I think that's just bullshit, really. Yeah, touching a maid guy is a death sentence, but believe me, a lot of guys have been touched, and the other person didn't die.
Absolutely right.
Well, I mean, I know of one or two cases, some that have been told, but some behind the scenes, that they did touch maid guys. They did get hospital beatings, but none of them got killed. Have you heard of any incidents where a guy got touched and nothing happened, or just a hospital beating? Not just, but you know what I mean. Well, Vinny, have you heard anything about like somebody getting touched?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because it's supposed to be a secret society. So if I have my button and I go after someone in a bar, I didn't know he was made because he wasn't formally introduced to me. So how could you kill me when it's a secret society? And the rules are working because I didn't know he was made.
Yeah.
Now, if you know that a guy's made, that's different. It also depends. You know, if you find out I was with your daughter, you know, I think that it depends I think on how much money you bring in. It all comes back to money. If I'm putting $2 a week in your pocket and the other guy's putting $200 every month, guess who's winning to sit down? Mm-hmm. And I think even JP said that way. He said, when you're an earner, you get a lot of carte blanche. You get a lot of good cred when you're an earner. But no, I think, I remember two guys that fought. And one was taxed. That really does happen. Yeah. He had to come up with 50 large. And he wasn't put on the shelf officially, but he was persona non grata in a bunch of those restaurants. And they said, just let things cool off. Now, I never knew if it cooled off enough where he hung out with them again. He wasn't put on the shelf, but he was taxed. And, you know, it was different families.
What about, you brought up something earlier, and, you know, this happens in business. Like there's certain companies that operate, certain gangs that operate a certain way. And in LCN, like you said, you brought up earlier about the Columbos talking on the phone. The Lucchese's, you know, were known for false wires for a while. You know, Chiodo, who else? Al Diorco, and then obviously some recent stuff as well with their family. So why do these families make the same mistakes? Joe, you go. Why don't you?
So the question is, why do they make the mistakes?
Why do certain families keep making the same mistakes?
Because honestly, I just think it's stupidity is one, and just arrogance more than anything. Like they think, you know, that I'm the boss, and you know who's going to betray me, or who's, you know, I mean, how else can you explain it? Because I would think the same thing. I mean, after like the whole John Gotti fiasco with the tapes, who would even say anything on a phone? You know, but it happened. So maybe it's a moment of weakness. Maybe the guy is sitting there smoking cigars and drinking wine a la last Saturday, you know, and you just start saying things, and who knows what the reasoning is, but it just seems like it's something that shouldn't be done.
It's just creature of habits.
Yeah.
It's really what it comes down to. You know, doing the
That's
same
true.
thing everybody else is doing, and then boom, that one time that you forget to keep your mouth shut, you're on the phone, or in this case, you're standing next to a parking meter and they got you recorded. You can't even walk down the same block you walk down. So
then the other thing is that, you know, if there's a ton of made guys in the NYC area, like we think, you know, thousands or whatever, I mean, is it a high percentage of them on the phone talking? No, we hear about people here and there, but, you know, it's like one of those things. You got to be perfect 100% of the time. The FBI only has to be correct 1 or 2 times. So if you slip up once or twice, you could not say anything on the phone 1,000,000 times. 2 times you say something, that's going to be a downfall. You got to be perfect at all times if you're a criminal. And that's a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah, Vinny. So like, is that constant where you see, because you've been around a while, you see families making the same mistakes over and over, or are they finally starting to smarten up?
I think it's kind of like when everyone's getting tickets for texting. So for the first 3 months, you're good, and then it falls back. I think that logistically, it's very tough for these guys. How is an 87-year-old guy going to go meet 50 people a day if he's got to meet people? You got to use the phone. How are you going to have sit downs every 5 minutes? And I think that's what happens. I think they get lazy. It's not like a corporation where, every first of the month, we're all going to meet and bring it to the table what we need to do. I don't think it's like that. And I think, like you said, it's creature of habit, Jason. I think that logistically, it's hard to go meet people constantly. I think they're more worried about meeting people and being on FBI footage for some reason than actually using the phone. But I think they'll learn for a while. You know, the Columbos now after mush are going to learn. And then, you know, in 6 months, no one's giving tickets out anymore. So they'll be back on the phone.
Why, and again, this is open to any of the three, whoever wants to jump in. The Genovese operate in a certain way that has been deemed successful. Why doesn't everybody emulate what they do? Jay, if you want to take it away, it's more of kind of a business general thought.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we don't know if they're getting caught. I mean, it's not in the papers, but how do we know that there aren't guys wired up in the family right now? I don't know where we.
So here's the thing. One, obviously, the feds do have they'll hang out for a while till they get you, but there would be more indictments. There would be, remember, these guys want to get promoted. That's why they do all this stuff with the DOJ. So I think there would be more law enforcement activity if that's the case. And number two, and I'm just going by what Anthony Arlotta said, they operate in cells. So, like, if they bust a crew, if you ever notice, like, Genovese guys get busted, it's usually big money stuff, and it's never like 20 of them. It's like 2 or 3, because they compartmentalize and they operate almost as like a terrorist organization with different cells, if that makes sense.
Well, maybe they should share that with the other families.
What's that?
Maybe they should share that system with the other families.
But they all know that they do that and they still ignore it. I think it has to do with hubris. I think some people, and I'll acquiesce to Joe and Vinny, I think some people want to be a gangster. They want to be seen with the cigars. They want to be seen with the R8 Audi. They want to be a big shot. So Vinny, why don't you give your thoughts on why other families don't emulate the West Side?
Did you ever see the movie with Armand Asante Gotti? Remember when he said, "You think I got my button to be some businessman? Get the fuck out of here." These guys are gangsters. A lot of these guys are gangsters.
He's
that's
older.
What they want to be.
But we were talking about who would play Roy DeMeo. That was the guy, William Forsythe. If he was a little younger, he would have been a good Roy.
And Jason and I were talking about JSV Capital, I'm not just blowing smoke over his, how he stands out compared to other people that are raping you with points and this and that, right? He's successful. Why wouldn't they follow his lead? Because they're pigs. They'd rather screw you over now and all the money, where the Genovese take a trickle-down effect where we'll stay in business for 50 years. The other guys, listen, you never know who their leadership is. Very hard to find out who's made in that family.
Yeah.
So obviously no one's talking. Even the associates obviously aren't talking if you don't know. So it's a tight ship, and maybe they're just more afraid. Maybe other families, people get away with crap and nothing happens. Maybe in the Genovese family, if you do something, there's repercussions. And maybe they're really worried, the people that would talk.
There's two things I'm going to say, and you guys are going to think I'm friggin' nuts, right?
We already do.
You think you're nuts already?
Yeah, exactly.
That ship sailed. Number one, I always say that the American LCN, and I'm telling you, I know the government is not going to like this, there should be some sort of form of a paramilitary group that's like the SEALs of the Five Families. And hear me out. An equivalent of a modern-day Murder, Inc. that doesn't knock out everybody, but if somebody gets sentenced to death, it gets done expediently, whether they're confirmed in the street or whether they're taken away, because there needs to be enforcement, right? The guys that are flipping fear the government, like Mike Francis says, more than they feel the mob. You guys agree that they should come up with some sort of paramilitary or some type of murdering group that's designed for enforcing the rules? Or am I nuts?
A little of both.
A little bit of both. I mean, I can see where you're going with that, but well, could that happen? I don't know.
You mean like MBS, the Saudi Arabian prince? He has the Tiger Squad.
Yeah.
He sends them out to do his dirty work.
Like the Roman Legion, the Praetorian Guard. Just a small group of highly trained guys that all they do is do things you need them to do, and that's it. And by getting enforcement, you're gonna get more alignment amongst the troops. And the other thing is, I think again, people are gonna think I'm nuts, but I think in Dragada, the reason why they're so strong is there's like a religious overtone. When I talk to guys that I interview, there's not a religious tie-in. When people believe in something like a religion and there's a tie-in and they believe it's bigger than them, they're going to be less likely to roll if they have a belief system around it than it's just about money. Do you guys agree?
Definitely. Yes. Yep.
I mean, you look at the cartel, they're big in religion. They have a saint that they pray to, right? The cartel saint, I don't even know what the name is or whatever. But these people are killing thousands a week.
Yeah. There's got to be there's got to be a belief system, right? Bigger than yourself. And as I understand, you guys may know better, but I understand once you go to jail, they don't necessarily send a boost every week. I think like you're on your own and it's like, see you later. But think about this, right? So you're looking at football numbers, right? And your family's going to get their $5,000 a week or whatever, or a month or whatever it is, right? That's going to get them by. Versus you go to WITSEC, you're going to be in Ohio, and half your family may or may not come. I think people will put themselves before their own family. So if they were to take care of those families and there was a better system, I think less people would roll. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think?
I agree with that. If they, I mean, what was it worth to pay for the wife and the kids, and this guy's going to go do a 10-year stint? I mean, yeah, I think a lot of guys would have took the 10-year stint knowing that their families would have been taken care of. That's how it's looked at. I mean, I hear big stories about that. Yes, it did happen in, some cases. In other cases, it never did happen. Yeah. I don't know why.
Yeah, I agree with Jason on that. I mean, yeah. How else can you explain it? I mean, the reasoning for some of these guys, cooperating. Yeah, if it's because of that, because of its long prison term. Well, if you're getting into the life, you got to say, I'm probably going to jail for a while.
Joe, that's the main thing now. You get involved with the mob, You've seen everybody rat on everybody. So why are you so surprised if you get rat on? You've just seen. Why would you be surprised if you go into life right now and say, "Oh my God, I got ratted on"? Where have you been the last 35 years?
Yeah.
You know that is a distinct. It used to be I could get killed, I could do jail. Now it's the rat getting ratted out is very much in play, like it, where that was never in play 40 years ago. People didn't think they were going to get ratted on. Now you probably have a better chance of getting ratted on than getting killed or going to jail before you go to jail.
Yeah. Ramona Rizzo, she said on the interview you had with her, she said that, you know, these guys, these street guys cooperating, how could you be surprised? Because what are the rules of the street? There are no rules.
Right.
So, you know, you have a license to do whatever you want, basically. No, but you can't tell on someone. You can't cooperate. I mean, there's just no rules. They do what they want anyway. And, you know, my thing is, you know, you look at a guy like Jimmy Calandra, right? So he did all this stuff, right? You know, and he decides he wants to change his life. He does. And from what we can see right now, he's got 2 beautiful daughters. He's working. He's taking care of his family. And people are hating him for that. I don't understand that. I really don't.
Yeah, I never understood. And I'm going to open up a little bit now because to make it interesting. Jason, is that you a bit, bro? I'm muting you. I try to let you off mute, but all right. So,
No, I'm good.
Listen, I'm not like an overly, religious person, right? But, I grew up Catholic. I am Christian. And anybody listen to the old podcast, they always hear this from me. I do believe you can reform, right? So I always say it's not where you start, it's where you end, right? And, a lot of these guys now have families, they have kids, and it's like they're doing the right thing and they're in their daily lives, right? Because if they were doing the wrong thing, they probably would have got pinched or something would have happened or something negative would have happened, right? So it's like a guy like Jimmy, who I don't know personally, but if he's doing right and he wants to end up in a better place, like these guys get on him, right? Like we got to pick a lane, right? Is it okay? And I get it. I get it. It gets your moral constitution. It's against your, if you're going to go in that life, you know what you're signing up for. I categorically agree with that. But now that what's done is done for whoever's out there, it's like, well, wait a second. They're trying to put their life together. So it's like you can't besmirch a guy for that. Vinny, where do you land on that?
I think whatever I say, I'm going to get in trouble with the subscribers. So I don't bullshit. So I tell you the truth. I think the same premise is just like, remember in The Sopranos, and I keep on going back to The Sopranos because, it was fudge, but it was real, where they made fun of Bobby Bacala because he never had a gumad, and Johnny Sack was the greatest guy in the world because he never cheated on his wife. Yeah. I think there were 2 sets of rules. But I think that, I think that there comes a time when you just have to say, listen, God bless you. Go and do what you got to do. Now, and I also think if you have a family member who went to jail because of testimony, you totally think differently. It's just an impossibility.
Of course.
So if you notice on YouTube, any of the content channels, anyone who was affected by it just is adamant, hate like venom.
Yeah.
Where other people don't agree with it, but they can live with it if it's not affecting them. You don't have to come to my house for Thanksgiving.
That's what Dave Chappelle says. You don't care till it affects you.
And with this, it's very true. It's very true. But listen, I'm forgiving second. I've had 10 chances or I'd be on the street with bipolar, the things I've done. So I'm actually, I'm going to have a little more sympathy for someone who is getting chances. But listen, the people that say that, I don't doubt that Jimmy Calandra for 1 second is phony. I think he really, really loves his family now, and I think he really knows it was wrong. I totally believe him. Sammy the Bull, I'm not so sure. I think Sammy still thinks he's a gangster at the time. Mike Franchese, I used to think he was full of shit with the church, but now I don't. I think he knew he needed that to keep himself straight. So he leaned on it to a point where he felt he owed them because they kept him straight. But no, you know what? That's a personal thing, but I do think that I'm into the forgiveness thing. I am now. If my father went away because of someone, would I be? Maybe not. But you know what? I can only deal with what's in front of me.
Yeah.
And I do believe in the second chances. You don't got to be their friend. Don't be their friend.
Yeah.
But don't wish them terrible.
Well, I have to say, and again, I'm gonna open up a little bit over time, but I keep it very, very respectful. So when we switch over the show, I switch over the show to Armchair MBA. The first day, which it was a lot, but it wasn't. Lost 250 subs the first day. Now, on one end, that's a lot number in terms of absolute terms. Like, holy shit, that's a lot of subs, right? But it was only 3%. That's where the NBA kicks in. So I said, you're right. I got to reinvent myself, and I got to do it quickly. So people notice, I like be as transparent as I could, where I came out and said, hey, here's what I can say. Here's what happened, the best that I could, because we agreed upon keeping some of it quiet, but kind of relaunched and tried a little bit of different angle, put more of me into the mix. But the truth of the matter is I did my best to make him the star of the show. I know people got on shit about me unpacking and talking about corporate stuff, but he was the star of the show. So I was very nervous for a while. And I said to myself, oh shit, what do I do, right? So the truth of the matter is there were a lot of people that the subs are not only back, but growing again. I'm almost at 8,100 again. And thank you to everybody watching, because people opened up. They said, I have nothing against you. I just don't like guys that did what he did. And it's not even against John per se. It was against that lifestyle and what they did. So with that being said, there are a large group that is against the moral constitution and that are watching the Armchair. To be candid with you, we got a great group of guys and gals tonight, but I would say probably 80% are newer to the show, and that's because people still do believe in that moral fiber. So it's interesting, and I respect that. I respect. There's people that apologize to me that I got along with, but were really harsh on me. I used to have every show. I would have about 30 hitting comments, or we had to hide comments because they were just brutal. I get one a day now, and the comments aren't much less. So it's a little bit more relaxing for me, and I think it's been a net positive.
Yep. I think John Panisi, man, I think he's a good guy. You could tell.
Yeah. Listen,
you could tell he's changed his life, and he's not really, trying to be a tough guy. And he's just, situations happen. Look at his cooperation. He wasn't under indictment or whatever. So maybe people really do have a change, because everybody says, I gave up the street stuff. Yeah, after you were getting 50 years, you give it up, but you never give it up before.
Yeah.
But he wasn't in trouble. So, you got to take people for, if he said, if these guys say, I'm a made guy, or I'm this, or I did this, you know what? Till you prove me wrong that you're, I'm not going to say you're a liar at this point. Larry Mazza says he's made. How could any of us say no? He's not. We don't know. So, and like Vinny said about Sammy, he says, I think Sammy is he's changed his life too. I don't think he comes off like he's in the mob still, really. Because the things that people say about him, he's got a thick skin, and I don't really see him going at people too much, But I could be wrong.
I think he lost credibility when he said, I never touched drugs. Then he ends up starting a big ecstasy ring. When you're 55, you don't find a new hobby. There's no way to me that he was not involved in drugs and then all of a sudden decides to open up an ecstasy ring. I don't believe it.
He said it was his son's, and he was just helping his son.
He was still so you're having your son start an ecstasy ring. That shows you kind of the moral compass.
Even worse than doing it yourself.
Absolutely.
And his son did time. His son did 10 years. So
yeah, it's terrible.
It's really tough. Who knows what people are thinking at that moment when you're facing 50 or 100 years, and it's a yes or no. You got to really think about it and say, what do I want to do with my life? And the thing is, the people in the mob will always tell you, the person that kills you is your best friend. So So why is when they turn on their best friend and throw him in jail, what's the difference?
Good point.
What's the difference? Your best friend will kill you or you'll tell on him. So where is the, I mean, he testified against Spiro, Jimmy Calandra, but guess what? Spiro, if Jimmy stayed around Spiro probably would have killed him at some point. He killed his best friend. So you're going to be loyal to that person? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. Well, listen, this was a good one. I guess our second edition of the Four Horsemen. We're going to keep this as an ongoing segment as often as we can get together. Leave some comments below. Smash that like button. Subscribe because this is something that to give some good feedback. We have good average watch time. We got some good reinforcement. We'll keep doing it. Let's everybody plug their stuff because they gave some time and dedication. Jay, why don't you go first?
Yeah, guys, check us out at JSV Capital, small business loans. Also do real estate investment mortgages, 30 years out. Anybody interested, we're also doing a course where we teach you guys how to run this business, the exact business that JSV Capital does every single day. It's a mentorship program that we're doing. So go to JSV Capital, check us out, fill out the form if you're interested in one of our programs, and we'll get in touch with you.
Giuseppe, I know you have some business, but I don't know if you're going to reveal that yet.
I don't have anything I want to plug, but what I do want to say is thank you to all the listeners, that have shown support for the show and myself and, making my transition a comfortable one. And, I just want to say thank you to all the people out there. I really appreciate your support.
That's awesome. And then Vinny?
I just want to say that when I started 2 months ago, I used to watch Tom with his last show. And if you would have told me that I would be at his house, this guy's house I used to watch and revere, I would have never believed it. And I met you guys through YouTube.
Yeah.
And I consider you guys friends. Brooklyn guy, Vinny Bracco. It's a hybrid channel. I don't talk about the mob always. And usually stuff that I talk about because I was in the street a bit, I talk about my own stories. But come visit me and just smash the like button for this guy because he's tremendous. And smash a thumbs up, everyone, if you want this guy down here to have his own show.
Don't do that to me. Give me another week or two.
That's a great idea. And then JSV is going to be taking over New Theory. Stay tuned for that. I'm gonna probably tie. I do a bad job at cross promoting. I will tie that over. Jay's going to steer that ship. Just for me personally, I want to thank these guys for being on. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for viewing. The thing I'm really Code of the Streets, welcome. Carlos Munoz, thank you for being a steward of the show. Joe Karate. And one thing I'm telling you, what I really, really love is these names were not in the chat 2 months ago. So we're making some new friends. A lot of the other people gave us a chance now, gave me a chance for sticking around. And a sincere thanks. We're going to get to 10,000. We're going to release our Road to 10,000 contest soon. And guys, everybody have a great night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, everyone.